Hey everyone, Matt from Soundrolling.com, and here again with another daily video. Didn't you know? It's happening every day, all day. Download the app, it's easier to keep updated, or just subscribe. Wanted to talk a bit about first jobs, and how I got my first jobs, and there's a few stories where things have gone on to other things and snowballed pretty well. Some didn't pan out, some were obviously horrible, some I didn't get paid for. But starting out and just generally, how do you get your jobs? I think the first thing, like after film school, kind of pissed about for a year, pretty much. Just went to Canada, did some odd jobs, saving up for stuff. Didn't really know what to do. It was like, okay, well, I've had a chance because I was one of the few people in my film school doing sound. I had quite a few projects under my belt. I think I had like 20 or 30 films by the time I left. In 3 years, and that was from like MAs, and that was like the MA like levels and master's degrees, and so I had all the years because you're the only person doing sound, so you're going to do sound. And yeah, so then getting to the first jobs, I think getting into this industry, especially if you just want to go straight in, buy your own equipment. So my route was, okay, well, I was living in Dundee. Well, my mum was up in Dundee, still is. And so you can see where it is on the map. I'll throw up a map, maybe, of where it is. And so I had to get a bus, essentially, 11 hours one way to London, which is where I knew it was a great entry point. And I think that's my first key thing. Like, if you want to get into an industry, get in a place where there's loads of other people doing it. Usually means a major city, might mean a city, because I know lots of you watch from around the world, it might be a city in another country. I definitely know London there's so much going on now, especially with creative content, and just general corporate stuff. I mean, everyone's making video, no one's can be bothered to read anymore. Radio is making a comeback, I think, slightly, but yeah. Pictures, 1,000 words, you know the whole spiel. So I'd say location is first thing. Make your cover letter very short and relevant. Don't talk about yourself. If you're like, it's more about creating a dialogue with whoever you're wanting to work with, I would say. And there's a lot of classic things. So a lot of people get in contact with me, and I am slightly terrible at getting it back to every single person, but asking about trainee schemes, that kind of thing. And all they'll kind of do is talk about themselves, and that's kind of right, and that's kind of, but a bit boring, to be honest. It's a bit like, well, okay, but there's no, you kind of need to show your value to the other person without it just making yourself sound good in a way. It's really hard to define, but essentially lots of, so I have a job, it's a horror film, it's going to be like a week, let's say, this is all made up, so and I'm going to be paying this much and I'm going to be working here. So the 20th century model of choosing someone is essentially to get everyone to do a CV. So then you can just tick boxes, right? So you tick a couple of boxes, you're able to knock out like 90% of the people, and then you have to whittle it down to like 10%. So that's slowly going to be phased out, I think, in most respects, because I mean, people are going to have to meet, obviously, certain criteria, but on the whole, it's going to be more about the person-to-person relationship and getting on with people. But that is yet to come, and a kind of topic that I kind of talk about at the pub a lot. So there you go. Buy me a pint, I'll talk some more. So what you want to do is you want to try and set yourself apart by creating a dialogue as quickly as possible. If you're applying to jobs online, you want to be the first person, at least, like the first 3 to apply. I reckon. So if you're, what I was doing for the first time, so a classic example of this is like the first feature-length film I got outside of film school. And I got that when I only had a recorder. I was living like 500 miles away from London. It was a film that was 6 weeks across 6 countries. And I applied for it on the Wednesday. I got an interview, on a kind of interview meeting on the Thursday, second one on Saturday, and then confirmed on Saturday, and then we started shooting on Monday. And then I was able to like negotiate my fee, so I got it paid up front so I could get my equipment, yada, 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 yada. So essentially the keys to me getting that and subsequent work, again, in like Turkey and lots of other places, which is pretty amazing to get started, was consistency and persistence, I guess, to start with, because 2 weeks beforehand, I was on like Mandy and all these sites now. You have to pay for quite a lot of them now. They've merged, but probably still worth it if you have no leverage or no contacts. That's just what I say. Again, they're rip-off, blah, 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 blah. But if you have nothing, then you've got nothing to lose, I guess. So 2 weeks before that, every day, woke up at 8, and I was just always on my computer, always on my phone. I was doing other things, but every couple of minutes, I would just be checking all these sites for new jobs coming up. And loads of stuff, never heard back from anyone, loads of stuff just didn't work out or I couldn't do. I only had a recorder at the time, Edirol R44. Still have it, actually. Need to fix it a bit. It's been battered. But so I think that was key in then me being able to be one of the first people to respond to this ad, because obviously they were looking to hire really, really soon. I think they had someone drop out beforehand. And so I was very relevant to the cover letter. I was talking about the film, about my experience that could help the film, the project, the people, all that kind of stuff. Relevant things without me just talking about it being cool, like, oh, I've traveled before, I'm very good at traveling, I love traveling. It's more about, okay, well, this is my, at the time, limited experience of doing stuff when you're traveling, and this is what I would do in a car scene, and this is what I would do, and blah, 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 blah. Where I generally excel, I think, is on the phone, kind of, but in person, you get a better vibe off people if you're going to be working well with them. So, stay persistent. Obviously, you've got to get the right location for the kind of work. If you want lots of work, you've got to keep your cover letters short, sweet, or the sooner you can get in contact and have a dialogue, a discussion about a script, about an idea, and you start helping director, writer, producer, whoever they are, help build their vision in terms of your department for the film, you are instantly more likely to be part of that team, because you're inherently contributing and giving a lot of information to a client, essentially. And in return, you kind of get kept on as the team in almost a kind of, is it symbiotic? It's like almost like they're repaying you by keeping you on, and you're providing the information. So there's an exchange happening. You stay on because you've provided the right information that's going to help them. This has also happened with me doing blogs and commercials. I talked about a certain topic, an agency phoned me up, I was like on the phone with them, I explained everything, went through, wasn't expecting anything to happen, and then got kind of a 2-3 day commercial out of it, which is obviously a pretty good rate, all that kind of stuff, but also just a really, really interesting project to work on. And so that is kind of so let's sum up. Let's cut this short, I guess, or shorter, and just say that you've got to be persistent and consistent. This is not going to happen overnight. It took me 1.5 years to move to London before I had all my equipment, and I didn't even have, I think as soon as I moved to London, the month after that, I bought a Sound Devices 664, but up until then I had an Edirol R4 Pro, and so the equivalent is a Zoom F8 now, and it's probably about the same price, to be honest, and does a lot more. So stay persistent and consistent if you want to do it. If you're doing things on and off, it's not really going to work. You're going to miss out on lots and lots of opportunities. It's kind of like knocking on doors for sales. You've got to make sure your cover letter or your contact with the person is relevant to them. It's all about them because it's their project, it's what they're doing, and you want to start that dialogue quickly. And also, if the film doesn't work out or it doesn't sound right for you, it's fine to say no. You can just move on to another door. Knock on another door, there'll be another opportunity. Then I would say that when you're in person, again, it's all about them. You are they're trying to build a project, a film, a story, and you've got to try and get in on that story, tell that story, and try and help them figure out how they can get even more production value and everything else like that. through sound, in my case, obviously. So this has kind of turned into a very general lesson. So this went on a bit long, but I just thought that it's kind of a massive topic to kind of cover. Lots of people have lots of questions. So if you have more questions, I'll do kind of smaller, more relevant videos about it in the coming days, I guess, because I'm doing one every day. So get in the comments below wherever this video is, Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Subscribe if you want daily content, or if you don't like YouTube, you can get the free app, and then you can see my daily videos on there, as well as lots of other cool information for free, and help me out with ideas for that as well, because that's always useful. And yeah, otherwise just subscribe, and that's pretty much all I have to say today. Pretty long one today, so thanks for sticking with me, and I will see you tomorrow.